Hi, and welcome to the Rock Your Business channel. So I've been out, out and about and away, and I'm back right now with the Rock Your Business channel. So I started this channel like a year ago or something, and first it was something else. It was going to be about, me discovering if I still wanted to teach yoga, and then it turned into a business channel, and then I realized, oh, but I have, like something coming through, or I developed the idea of a rock star business and what that was going to be, and ultimately everything fell together, and I now really have the framework that allows me to teach my vision, or teach my vision, that's not true, that allows me to explain why I think my business at the time, my yoga business at the time, failed, but also how easy it would have been to save it. Like, I really think that what I created is like a roadmap, or it's a model that makes you understand how money works, how entrepreneurship works, and also why in many cases it will not work. And I really think that this is knowledge or understanding that is either not present in society, or it's not fully ingrained, but it's definitely not communicated. And I think that's really important, that you have an understanding of what the moving parts are of the capitalist or economic system that we live in, and then you can choose if you want to be a part of it, or if you don't want to be a part of it, or from a very philosophical standpoint, I would say that even if you choose not to be a part of it, that you're still a part of it because you chose not to be a part of it. But that's probably very, very abstract. But also that if you would find yourself in a situation where you're like, I really, really need to make money fast, then where are you going to stand? In a capitalist system, there are pathways where the money flows, and there are pathways where there is no money, or it is money. It's publicly funded, and that really means that the areas of society that are publicly funded are very much dependent on the government that you have in place, or the government that you had in place the past couple of decades. So, but capitalism itself has worked the same way for thousands and thousands of years. So the only variable here is the public sector, which obviously is has been different the past, like, let's say post-war, especially in the Netherlands. We have a really great social security system, or we used to have a really great social security system, and a really great education system, and a great healthcare system, and now basically we don't have any of those anymore. They're all in deplorable state compared to what we used to have, and it's basically because it has been given to the market. So we now have a market for healthcare. And we had like tons of budget cuts for education and things like that. And just as an example, in when I was about 10, the classes were about 20 children in every class, and now if you would go to school, it could be like up to 50. I mean, that's what I've heard. Up to 50. That's like crazy. So I haven't seen that in practice, but that's what I've heard. So, and a lot of children cannot even read anymore in the Netherlands. I think it's 20% that can't read anymore. So it's really, those are just like, obviously very, very general examples of explaining how the public sector has changed in the past couple of decades in the Netherlands. That's really not what I'm going to focus this series on, but it is something that I have in my model, and that you understand, like, oh, okay, that's it. So, what is my model? It's this. I will give you a like a PDF or a picture of it, a scan below in the description box, so that you can print it and understand it when you're watching this video. So naturally, because this is from far away, so the only thing that you're going to see here from that far away is like a green, like a lot of things, and then here green. Okay, the green is money. So this is the money flow in the free market. So this is capitalism. The green is capitalism, and that's why I said things that change are in the public sector. So this is a business channel, and capitalism is fundamental to understand if you have a business, because some industries or some ways of doing business, quote unquote, because you're not really doing business, you're doing something but it's not business, are included in capitalism, and some are not included in capitalism, or you have to really kind of like find a little niche that is included in capitalism. So this is like the very first time I'm talking about this here on this channel. So I'm just going to give you like a very, overview, like a bird's view, helicopter view of it. So there are 4 elements in this system. Well, 5 if you count the money flow as one. So then the first would be the money flow. The money flowing, or the capitalism flowing through the system, and either including or excluding the 4 elements. Then the first element is the community. The community is, well, for example, I live in Nijmegen. The community is everybody who lives in my neighborhood in Nijmegen. We are a community because we are, we cannot escape each other. We are bound by our location, and you could call Nijmegen a community because we are bound by our location. So a community is, how have I described it here? So it's a business model. I say quote unquote. It has quotes here around business model. Community business model based on natural strong dependency or affinity. For example, local yoga studio. And it says here in the right column, serving an entire community. So, a local yoga studio is a community-based business model, because you have to sell yourself to the area where you are located. If you you have to sell yourself to the majority of the people that are living around your how do you say that? Yeah, yoga studio. The reason that is pretty hard is because you're serving an entire community. You are not so much selling yourself to one person, but to the community who likes to come there and see each other and get out of the house and have some time for themselves. So you're having your business has a community function. And I said, local yoga studio, but you can also have like a cafe, a local cafe is the same thing. Or other local businesses that are, that are serving a community function. Now, the money flow goes, it has a very small strip here where the money flow from capitalism covers or crosses the community business model. So that means that you have to, well, probably not like deliberately, but you have to have certain trades, or you have to deliberately work on aspects of how you do business in order to get your business all the way over there, because the chances that it's going to end up making tons of money are very slim because this is mostly a community is mostly like a sector where the public that is publicly funded. So for example, education or healthcare, it's a very much a publicly funded industry. And if you have a local business that is serving the community, then you have to be very aware, if you want to make that into a business model, what you're doing and what the moving parts are. And actually in this channel, for this channel, I'm going to discuss options, what your options are. But this is the basis. This is the essence of it, is that it's when whole communities are involved, it's usually publicly funded, and it requires your attention or awareness of how to get your community business into that little profitable strip over there. And then here, the second one, I simply called it business. And this is really the heart of capitalism. Like, if you are here in this sector, it's almost impossible not to make money. If you have a business, then you could have things like you're marketing to the individual. So you're helping an individual solve a certain problem, or you do certain tasks for them that make their work easier. So these are really the businesses that that are very, they're also based on scarcity. It's also all the money flows that are based on the financial markets. So this is really like, traditional businesses in the sense of trade based on scarcity. So for example, if I now start trading sunflower oil or weapons, there will be markets for that. We all have an understanding that there's a market for sunflower oil and that there's a market for weapons. So those are really businesses based on scarcity and based on markets that we can all understand how that works, and financial markets. So everybody who has an income stream from stock trade or other financial markets, that's all, or real estate, people buying and selling real estate for a profit, that's all the second thing. So if you want to have money, or if you want to have an understanding of, I want to work in an industry as an employee, but I don't know which industry, take an industry that is here, in the heart of the green thing. Then the third one is called art, and these are really all like the signature systems that you can sell, the very strong brands, experiences. For example, Disney, and in particular the Disney parks. That's a sector that I would call art, because it is no long it's a thing of itself. It's like a piece of art that you can hang on the wall, just a little bit different. So maybe this sounds very abstract, but that's the idea of the third block. Naturally, I will get into this block as well. It's very well possible to have art that is not in the capitalist stream. All the musea and other cultural expressions that are subsidized are not in the capitalist stream. They are publicly funded. So art can be either, you can have a very successful business, but you can also have a publicly funded part of art. And then the last one is rock star, and these are people, not companies. Or maybe in theory it could be companies, but no, it cannot be companies. These are people who are unique themselves. So when they die, the essence of the art that they created dies. So, for example, if you're a writer, but you're not a public figure, you're known through your books, then your work doesn't die when you die, because your work is art. It's tangible. It has a sellable unit, a book. But if you are the art, and for example, David Bowie is someone who cannot only be known through his work. He was his work, and his personal development, or as an artist, and being in his space was a large part of what made him a rock star. So a rock star is an artist, in the most broad sense of the word. A rock star is an artist who has a like a contribution that is personal, and who is appreciated because of who he or she is, and not only through their work. It's not like, oh, if they die, then we're like, okay, well, we have all their books, so it's a loss on a personal level, but it's not a loss artistically. And with the rock star, the death of the rock star is the end of the art, or of that part of the art of that person. And I just remembered, this is probably why Marina Abramovic, a very famous performance artist, she has like these rules for artists. Yeah, for performance artists. And one of them is that the final piece of art for a performance artist should be their funeral. So they have to direct their funeral. They have to leave instructions how their funeral is supposed to take place, because it is their last work. That is a rock star. That is the rock star level, when you have an understanding that everything you do is the art, or that the highest form of art is the intangible things, and is your presence, and your awareness, and your presence here on this earth. and that's the part that cannot be sold. So, for example, Warhol, he was an iconic personality, definitely a rock star. He was, he had that rock star level. He also did things for his personal exploration, like he became a photo model when he was like, I don't know, 45, 50. He became a model as Warhol. He was already widely known, and one of the photo shoots was where he was completely dressed up as a woman, and in makeup, and but he was also an artist who painted, so he created these paintings, but he had a whole business where he had staff who ran the business. So there was a business called Warhol or something. It wasn't called the factory at that time. It was, there was a business side to Warhol, which was here, the where they sold the art he made, and where he had like these executive friends working. And when he did his photo shoot, where he dressed up as a woman, the people who were working here in this part of the company, that was the money making part, they didn't like it. They were like, that's making our job more difficult. So Warhol is an example of someone who is, he himself was here. He was the rock star. He created art, but it was not subsidized art. It was a business. He even called it business art. He had a whole philosophy about it, and he had a whole business selling his art, which was here. And he also sold his presence when he was a photo model, so that was here. So that is my first brave attempt to explain this model to you. I think it's my way of this is my framework to kind of help you understand where you are. Like if you wouldn't change a thing about what you create, if you wouldn't change a thing about what you sell, then where are you now on this map? And if you want to move closer to the money flow, to the green of the capitalism, then how can you do that? And maybe you want to switch boxes, that you say, okay, I'm here at community level, and I have a I have a local yoga studio, and everybody likes to come here, but financially I'm not doing well. Then how could you? Well, let's throw it right in what I see, what you could be doing, as an example, to make it more concrete about what it is that you can do. You can get more into your position or step into your role of community leader, and more consciously nurture those ties that you have to everybody in the community, and that will bring your local yoga studio all the way to that right strip, the green. So you can step into your role of community leader, and that can make your yoga studio financially healthy. Or you can focus on creating a real business model, for example, offering courses to solve something like a 2-month prenatal course for women, or 6 weeks of yoga to heal lower back pain, So create business models that help individuals. So then you create a business model here that will get you cash flow and that will fund the local yoga studio that is more community based. It's also possible that you have developed a system but are not aware of it. So, for example, do you have a, like a collection of classes, like written out classes that you could bundle up and say like, okay, this is like my 12-week program for beginners, and package that and sell that as a system. And so maybe you have a yoga system that you can sell, teach to other teachers. So that is the art level that maybe you want to have. And there is the rock star level. Maybe you have a unique personality, and maybe you can more emphasize, or not more emphasize. Maybe you can step into showing them who you really are, and then maybe it's not your yoga studio that necessarily needs to become better, or that you have to improve on that business model. But if you become like your radiant magnetic self, then you can teach in the yoga studio, and you can have your yoga studio, and your yoga studio at community level will absolutely blossom. But at the same time, because you are now your own PR person, and the people are now coming for you and not for yoga, you could shift into doing something else, and they would still come. So maybe you want to, shift the yoga studio into becoming a musician. When they love you and when they like to connect with you, then they will at the moment you stop having the yoga studio, they will want to visit your band or your concert, your gigs. So that's kind of like the model explained with the example of being a yoga teacher or having a local yoga studio. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this very first video where I explain what I have called the system. Maybe next time I will explain why I've called it the system and not something a little more catchy. Subscribe to this channel if you want to know more. If you have something like, next time can you include this example in your video, then leave me a comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.